Here, what did you come up with? So who wants to share what skills does a complete player in 2030 have?
Yeah, we have the idea that we're still human.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So it's nothing bionic. You cannot expect anything inhuman from us, but maybe the offhand throwing.
Yeah.
We should have like less offhands, so we have throwing with both hands is quite similar.
Yes.
If you start from the early age, then you're able to do that.
Nice.
You see basketball players with a broken hand and throwing threes with their offhand. No problems. So
nice. Good one. What else?
I think also maybe players who have played from very early age, because now a lot of people have started playing when they're older and it's not the same. So like with football and everything else, like why are they so good? Because they are playing since they're a child.
Mm-hmm.
So like now, if there would be freezing players like that too, I think the level would also rise much more, and they would be able to read the disc, be in better position. Everything would just connect.
Nice. So all of these things just even better. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good. What else?
I think there's gonna be some new fun throws maybe.
Yes. New throws. Nice.
Maybe something.
Yes.
I don't know. I think grenades are underutilized.
Yes. Can you like I'm not sure what
It's
grenade
like
is.
basically you just hold it upside down and then
Yes.
throw it so it just drops straight
So
down.
it just drops straight down.
So you basically throw like a backhand, but the disc is upside down, so it drops straight
Nice.
down.
Nice.
It's good for a break throw, but it's really bad to catch.
if you real five usually
Yes.
quite a lot.
Yes. I guess the advantage is like you don't have to take time to go up. Like if the disc is here, you just you can just release it faster than versus going up here and then throwing it over later.
Maybe in 2030 we might have some new rules. Like if you take AODL, like the perspective for future,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they don't have double T and so on. They have different rules to make it more, I don't know,
viewer friendly.
Yeah, viewer friendly. Yeah. So you don't have so many rules to abide.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to have a skill to break 2 marks, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Or you have the stall 5. You have to think even faster. We don't know.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Something more?
I think the individual development will be better because more and more ultimate games are filmed, and you have more material to learn from, from yourself and from the other teams. I think that part will be higher, and I hope that ultimate in general will be much bigger than it is today, and so I think in 2030 we have ultimate is much bigger than it is today.
Yes.
Maybe like also specific coaches for ultimate, that you have more of this material and everything, and that you have like the physical and mental game is actual system how to do things, and not everyone now is doing I think I need to jump, so I jump, But if there's actually do you need this for hip rotation, you need this for your knees, you need this for everything, then I think also the players would be well-rounded much more than now.
Super. Really nice ideas. So, one thing was, to think about the items there in the list, but that's how the players look like now, right? I mean, you are training to be good players in the future. So, perhaps it makes sense to spend a lot of time working on that grenade because, that could be the thing. That could be the next big indoor throw that everyone's going to throw. Nobody threw scoobers when I started playing indoor. Nobody. I don't know if they even knew what that throw was. So it will change. Players will get better, and offhand throwing, for sure, there will be more and more offhand throws. I don't see many people throwing offhand scoobers indoors. I would love to be able to throw an offhand scoober. I think it could be very useful. Have fun and get better at those skills. You can put them to good use. All right. Before we jump into team perspective, any questions about the individual part?
I guess I have a question of how to work on developing throwing skills.
Yes.
How to practice.
Yes.
Because I feel like it hasn't been done much, at least in Tartu. We just have some routines, they just say go and do double disc for 10 minutes and then move back a bit or something like that. But
Yes, I think it's a very good question. I am another very good person to answer because I have never been had the chance to be coached by someone who's like really good at sort of breaking down good throwing mechanics. And the way how I've seen most people learn is, just by trial and error. Basically, they just try a lot of times and then they sort of adjust slowly. But I think that things like being able to film and then looking back at the film can be very useful. The only problem is that you need to have someone who's able to like say, okay, the thing that you're seeing on the film, is this good or is this bad, or what can you try to adjust or not adjust? But at least the things that I know that are working, that are not related to the technique, but are more related to the method of training, like they could be things that whenever you throw with a lot of intention. Like I stopped throwing just casually already a long time ago because I don't know, I didn't have the time and it didn't feel very useful. So whenever I throw before the trainings or so on, I put a lot of thought into how I want the result to look like. So if I'm throwing with Jakob and I'm just throwing flat backhands, I want to hit like the chest. I'm like, this is my target. And if I don't hit the chest, then I have missed my target. It's not just enough that Jakob catches the disc, I want to put it perfectly to where it needs to be. Or when I throw to Jakob like a huck, for example, outdoor, I always want to make sure that the disc, curves towards him in the end. Maybe I need to release it with an inside-out angle in the beginning, but then it goes flat and then it starts to curve, and then I want in the end to curve it towards him. So I think that the throwing should be very intentional. Like you should be very specific on what this throw should look like. But in terms of what is the right technique to do that, I think that there's very little sort of knowledge and use knowledge in Ultimate today. And I think like for something like disc golf is much more better that, because that is sort of what disc golf is all about. It's just about the throw, so they are going into super small details. And I think you can actually learn from some of the things they are saying in disc golf about like what a good backhand could look like or what a good forehand could look like. It's just that the disc is very understable, the one that we throw. So not a good answer for you, I'm sorry, but I can tell you later more like about some good routines and stuff. But I think that the technique part there's not enough knowledge yet, or at least too few people have. So it's not in the masses. More questions about individual skills? No.
Maybe I have one.
Yes. Go ahead.
So when you played in America, for example, right? So you probably had some routine like training. So you had with the team, right? And then you also had individual ones.
Mm-hmm.
So what did it look like? What were the individual ones? Was it like gym? Was it sprints? What did you do to like be in the best shape?
Sure. So this is an example of what Ring of Fire did in 2014, right? So that's just one team at one specific year. So there could be a lot of different ways. At that time, they did not have a partnership with any of the fitness brands. I think now they do, and I think most better teams have now. They have there's this Tim Morrill stuff, or there's a few different things. I think that's even better. But at that time, what we had is that we had regular team trainings in the weekend, so usually Saturday and Sunday, 4 hours each, or we were at a tournament, or maybe there was Thanksgiving and I was free. Then we had a program that you had to do for the rest of the week, and if you lived closer to some of the other players, you usually did it together in what they call pods. So you go train with your 3 buddies, or 1 or 4 of them, and there was some specific running that you had to do, so a running program, but I mean that's nothing special, like just different intervals, like I think most of you have seen already now in some way. And then there was some certain strength program, which was also should be followed, which you would then do in your gym. So it was sort of assumed that you have access to gym, and that was also individual. So there was a lot of how to say, responsibility just put on players. Hey, you should do that. And then there were a few people in the team, in the leadership, who were sort of responsible. They were saying, hey, this week we do this, and this week we do that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes. Cool. Anything more? Individual skills?
Do you think our 2 hours training is too short compared to 4 hour trainings?
So I think that like the culture in US is different than culture in Europe. The reason why US teams train the way they do is that there's no way they can train in the week because they work. So there isn't time to do evening training as you have in Europe. So that's why they train in the weekend. I think that if you could choose, you would do both. Because it can be very, very taxing if you take away all the weekends. I mean, only so few players can actually live up to that, and they are so motivated. So I think a better model is that you have some weekly trainings, and then, I mean, ideally I would say you could have one fixed weekend training, or you just make that, okay, here, like every 3 weeks or whatever, we have a training day, and so on. But what I would say that it is very important to have longer sessions as well. So if you just have like 2 hour sessions and that's all you do, then you are not ready for the tournament. Because the tournament is a very different thing. The tournament you play many games in a day, 2 to 3 to 4 to even 1 week in a row. And if you are just coming from your regular trainings to that, you'll just be too tired. You're not ready for that. It's different way, like your body gets tired differently. So if you want to prepare yourself for doing well at the tournaments, you have to mimic the tournaments at your training sessions. What we, for example, did in Copenhagen, where I played now for 9 years, Copenhagen Frisbee Club, we had maybe 4 weekends when we were training, either 1 day or 2 days, and then it was like 6 hours, like we usually did. Like today, 2.5 hours, 1 hour break, 2.5 hours. More questions? Individual skills? All right. So, do you guys want a quick break? Like a few minutes, just to stand up? Or do you just want to continue?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Continue.
Continue. Yes, thank you. Okay, so team perspective. So now I was sort of thinking of different teams, and I decided to put them in a progression chart, just to raise awareness that these different types of teams that usually have some certain weakness. And if you have played Ultimate long enough, you can probably recognize some of these teams. Maybe they have been your own team, maybe they have been a team that you played against, or you know about. I put them in an order. You don't necessarily, in reality, go through, like, not every team goes through each of these steps. Maybe it's a different path, but you'll see what I mean. And I just want to highlight that there's, like, the team can be on a different levels, and you should really think about where your team is at and where do you want to go, because you can't go just from where you're at to be the best team in the world. So first of all, you know, this is the total noobs, the beginners. They just learn what the disc is. They just don't know anything, right? That's just how it is in the beginning. And then they get a little better. They learn to throw backhands. And then they're like, shit, there's this other throw, it's a forehand. And they don't really know how to throw a forehand, right? So, of course, when they play a game, and the other team forces them forehand, and then, you know, then they try to do this all the time, and they foul, or it just doesn't work. So then the team learns how to throw forehands. Great, they have the throws, but you know, they don't really know what to do on the field. Like, they don't know how to run, so to get free, they run at the same time. They don't create space actively, so it's a big mess. So eventually they turn over the disc by themselves, even though they know how to throw a forehand and a backhand a little bit. Okay, then they learn a bit of structure. In offense, you know, they can play, they know the cutting, and then the other team plays zone against them, and they try to run really hard because that's what you do against person cutting, and then the other team plays zone, and against zone you need to play completely differently. So they lose because they don't know how to play against zone, and then they start practicing playing against zone. And then they realize, okay, that's two different games, and they get good, and then they beat the zone. But then they play outdoor, and then it's a windy day, and then the throws are not yet good. So they need to practice more throws, or maybe indoor, you know, they sort of know the backhands and they know the forehands, and they can throw a wobbly hammer and maybe a wobbly blade, but they're not yet sharp. So then the team needs to go practice more, and gets really good at throwing again, sort of throwing level 3. And then this happens sometimes, you know, there's sort of no, how to say, they don't value the disc that much, right? They kind of just want to put it up there. They learn how to throw this long hammer, you know, they want to throw it, so if somebody goes deep, they're just going to throw it. And of course it doesn't come off always. And you know, usually it's not everyone in the team, right? It's usually, you know who these people are in your team, I'm sure. They like to throw the hard throws, and sometimes they succeed and often they fail. But then they talk about it and they agree that, you know, we'll be good as a team and value the disc, and it's not too bad. And then the next challenge can be is that they're not yet athletic enough because they are really playing on a high level already, and like, you know, the teams that they're playing against are also really good. Plus they went to the gym and went running. So, you know, then, you know, you go at a weekend tournament and maybe you play really good the first 2 games, then the 3rd game of the day is really tough, and then the next day you're completely tired, and then you just lose. So, and then they start to do fitness and get stronger, and it's really good. Oof, this team is already so good. And then it starts to get sort of the smaller details, right? Then their offense is really good, but what they see is that they are not able to generate a lot of turns from the other teams, because the other teams are so good already that they just always score. So they're not able to put good pressure in defense. So in order to do that, this team needs to learn some defensive schemes, starts to think really hard. So how are we actually putting pressure on the other team? Where are we trying to take the disc away from them? Then this comes in, and this is a really hard one. Mistakes under pressure. Like, there are many really good players that struggle with this, and teams that struggle with this. Because the tough thing is that, like, when do you practice this? How many chances you have to practice being good under pressure? You know, if you only have 1 game in a season where you are under pressure, then the chances are that if you are not good from the start, then you will not really become good. So you need to find ways how to generate pressure often in the season. You need to seek out those strong teams to play against. You know, if you're a Clapham, how many times does Clapham get chances to play against strong teams in Europe or in the world? It's really hard. They need to go and pay a lot of money and travel to a tournament, and they have a few chances in the year to do that. So of course the place where you need to do it cheaply is your trainings. You need to create trainings where you generate a lot of pressure, because only then you get the reps, and even that is not exactly the same as being at a European Championship final point, right? Then some teams have this challenge. They have, you know, I don't know what's the good numbers indoors, maybe 7? let's say they have 7 excellent players. The team has 7 excellent players, but then they go to the European Championships and they need to play for 3 days in a row, and like 7 is a bit too little. Somebody will get tired, and then the level will drop. They need to have 9 at least, 10, 12. Outdoor is the same thing, right? You know, yeah, we come from Estonia, most of us, right? Or Latvia. I mean, we will always have this problem.
You've always had that.
We haven't had it, and we will always have it. So we need to just, you know, somehow deal with it. But so the players we have need to be just so good and very athletic, and we need more. And then the last one I have here, that's also a tricky one. This is adapting. So this is sort of adapting to the situation. So it's not only that you have game planned against the opponent, you also have to adapt in the game. You kind of see, okay, what we are doing, is it working, is it not working? And if it's not working, then we need to try something else or something else. I have been in very good teams that are not good at that. And then you just end up losing by 1 or 2 points. And it's really tough. And this comes a lot down to coaching, actually, that you have coaches that are saying, okay, now we try this. Now we play 1 point zone because we need to change something. We're going to change the force now because, you know, backhand is not working. But it comes also down to that you have in your playbook different things to change to. And if you have done all of this, then you are the best. Okay, reflections on this. No, let's do it. Talk to your partner. Talk to your partner about this for 2 minutes. Whatever you want to talk about some funny examples when you have been in some of these teams or played against some of these teams, or whether you see that there's some more team here or find